Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Bliger PA21 Explorer. This watch is available from Bliger official store on AliExpress for €130. So firstly, let's look at the packaging that the watch comes in, and then I'll talk you through the specifications of the piece. So the Bliger PA21 Explorer comes without a watch box. It comes in this plastic sleeve inside a resealable plastic bag, and that is thoroughly wrapped with bubble wrap, as you can see, to protect the watch in shipping from any damage. Now, usually I would be highly critical of a brand selling a watch without any watch box, without an owner's instruction manual, and without a warranty card, but in this case I'm not going to criticise Bliger, and I'll explain why. This watch is PT5000 powered, and it is only €130, which is incredible value. And I think Bliger have made the correct decisions, because rather than cost cutting with the specification of the watch, they have produced a PT5000 piece at an incredibly low price point, and they've made the cost cutting measures with regards to the packaging. So no watch box, no owner's instruction manual, no plastic warranty card. So I'm glad that they have put everything into the specification of this watch rather than the packaging and cut corners with the watch. So, with regards to the PA21 Explorer, I have previously reviewed this watch before. I reviewed the NH35A version, and I was very impressed with it. This is a new 2021 version, which is PT5000 powered. So, the watch is available in two case sizes, 36mm and 40mm respectively. On AliExpress, there's an error in the listing. They list it as 36mm or 39mm, but I've measured it and I can confirm it's actually 40mm, not 39. It's available with a sterile dial without a brand logo, or alternatively Bliger branded, as you can see. It's also available in 4 movement versions. One can purchase the watch with the Mingzhu 2813, the Seiko NH35A, the Miyota 8215, or the PT5000, which is made by HK Precision Technology. So this is the 40mm version powered by the PT5000. 40mm case diameter. It has a 48mm lug-to-lug measurement, a thickness of 12mm, and a lug width of 20mm. The oyster style bracelet tapers from 20mm at the lugs down to the glide lock style clasp. As you can see, the glide lock style clasp is sterile, it is unsigned. I think Bliger could improve upon this and laser engrave it with Bliger, which would be more aesthetically pleasing. Beautiful luster to the 316L grade stainless steel. It's brushed satin finish to the top side, underside, and polished to a flawless finish on the flanks. So very well executed, no sharp edges, no sharp corners, a very well finished glide lock style clasp. I'll show you the interior and the glide lock mechanism, which is one of my favourite aspects of this piece. Solid milled stainless steel interior, as you can see, matte finish to the centre section, mirror polish to the outer sections, the top side, underside and flanks, so finished to a high standard. And if you look at the underside, you can see it has a glide lock style mechanism. And Bliger deserve full credit, because this is a low tier piece costing only €130. And to get a glide lock style mechanism in a low tier piece like this is really incredible specification. They deserve full credit for this, and this is one of the reasons why I am forgiving about it not having a watch box or any accessories, because as I've discussed, they've put everything into the specification, the glide lock style clasp, rather than having a watch box, and I think they've made the correct decision. Now, with regards to the glide lock mechanism, is it as good as on my Rolex Submariner? No. But, however, I'm pleased to report it is smooth. And it is every bit as good as the glide lock style clasp used in the San Martin SN019G, which I've previously reviewed. It snaps into the body of the clasp with a satisfying click, and it works very well. So it's very smooth, and it gives plenty of adjustments, and really they deserve full credit, because this is very good to have at this price point, and it works very well. So the glide lock style mechanism is very well finished. Good positive click to the clasp, which is very satisfying. Good positive secondary click to the flip lock. So it's a very well executed glide lock style clasp. With regards to the rest of the specification, flat sapphire crystal. Now the negative is there is no AR coating on the underside. And as you can see, when I tilt the piece at an oblique angle, the flat sapphire crystal is highly reflective. There's a lot of glare and reflection, and it really would benefit from the use of clear anti-reflective coating on the underside. The silver Mercedes hands and also the silver applied indices are highly reflective, and they also add to the glare. So really this does need clear AR coating to improve it. But as I've discussed, one has to expect some cost-cutting measures at the €130 price point. One has to be realistic because this has a PT5000 and a glide lock style clasp, which is very strong specification. I like the Explorer style dial layout. This is clearly an homage to the Rolex Explorer 214270, which is a watch I've previously reviewed. So it's got the classic Explorer dial layout, large Arabic numerals which are applied 9, 6 and 3. The symmetry of the dial is outstanding, and I like the fact it's not over-branded with text and specification. It simply has the Bliger brand logo at 12 and automatic at 6 o'clock. So it's not over-branded. And I also like the proportion of the hands. Often with Chinese watches, they have undersized hands, but the length of the hands is adequate, and the second hand is long enough to reach the index chapter ring. So really, this is a very well executed dial and handset. It's available in several dial colours. This is a Tiffany blue, which is one of my personal favourites, and I think it works very well with the Explorer dial layout. The bezel is solid 316L grade stainless steel, polished to a flawless standard. The mirror polishing is incredible. Flawless mirror polishing to the flanks of the case, and they deserve full credit because this is the kind of case polishing one would expect to see on a mid-tier piece costing in excess of €500. To get this kind of case finishing at only €130 is exceptional. Now personally, I think it would look better if it had brushed satin finish to the tops of the lugs as per the Explorer, which this is an homage to, rather than mirror polished. But this is subjective. Some collectors will like the mirror polishing to the tops of the lugs. I personally think it would look better with brushed satin finishing to match the solid end links. The solid end links are a good tight fit to the case. However, there is room for improvement with regards to the bracelet. As you can see, there is some play in the links of the bracelet. So I would like to see them improve upon this and tighten up the bracelet, reducing the play. It has screw pins rather than push pins, which is good. And beautiful luster to the 316L grade stainless steel, as you can see. Flawless mirror polishing to the flanks, brushed satin finish to the top side and the underside. So really they just need to tighten up the links to reduce the play. But however, it is finished to a good standard. As you can see, beautiful luster to the links. So really they just need to improve in reducing the amount of play. With regards to the case back, I'll just open the clasp so I can show it to you better. It's a solid stainless steel screw down case back made from 316L grade. Brushed satin finish to the centre section, mirror polish to the circumference, and it's coin edge finished, as you can see. Very low profile, and it's very similar to sterile Rolex case backs. They've done an outstanding job of finishing the screw down stainless steel case back. It is absolutely flawless. The mirror polishing is very high grade. The brushed satin finishing is also very high grade. Now, with regards to the case back, they've stated the water resistance of this piece as only 30 meters, and I think that's very conservative. With a screw down stainless steel case back and a screw down crown, a watch should be able to provide an effective hermetic seal to 100 meters quite easily. So I think they've been very conservative, and in reality this watch could easily withstand 100 meters as per the usual with a screw down case back and screw down crown, but they've stated it as 30 meters, which is perfectly reasonable for a daily wear piece. So the underside of the case, the end links and the case back are finished to a very high standard, which is very good. Right, so let's test the crown action. Coin edge finished, solid stainless steel, made from 316L grade, mirror polished domed cap to a high standard. Now it's unsigned, and this is a clear cost cutting measure. For example, they could have embossed it with a B for Bliger or brand logo, but as this watch is sold in a sterile version with no logo on the dial, I think it's acceptable because naturally they want the sterile dial version to match the sterile crown and sterile glide lock style clasp. Let's test the action. Very impressive. It's silky smooth, and I think they deserve full credit because this is a low tier piece costing only €130, but the crown action is very smooth. So the PT5000 pushes the winding stem out of the movement. In the first position, it's the manual wind position, and one can manually wind it to top it up to its maximum 40 hours. Absolute pleasure to manually wind it and feel the tension in the mainspring gradually building up. Now, as the PT5000 is a date complication movement, the first click position is the date setting position, and this still does have the date wheel underneath the dial, although it's not visible because there's no date window. So one can feel the date clicking over with a quick set complication, although it's not visible. Pulling it out to the second click position is the time setting position, and as you can see I have now hacked the movement. If you look closely at the second hand, you can see I have now hacked it, it's stopped. So one can set the time in the second click position, and it's absolutely silky smooth. Very light resistance, it's lighter than a Seiko NH35A, and that's something you may like. So absolute pleasure to set the time. Pushing it back in, it's got a nice positive click, and that restarts the movement. As you can see, the second hand begins to sweep around the dial once again. So I'll test screwing it back down. Immediate thread pickup, this is outstanding crown action, it's very good. And it's silky smooth. So, as I've discussed, Bliger have been conservative and they've stated the water resistance is 30 metres, but I am wholly confident that this would withstand 100 metres of hermetic seal, because a screw down crown and a screw down case back are easily capable of withstanding 100 metres of pressure. Even a push pull crown can withstand 100 metres, so I really think that they could upgrade the water resistance rating to 100 metres, and I'm confident the watch would withstand it. So I'll give you a wrist shot and you can see how it fits on my 8-inch wrist. Now I haven't sized the bracelet because one of the benefits of having a glide lock style mechanism, I'll just adjust it, is that one gets plenty of on the fly adjustment, and without sizing it I'm able to get the perfect fit just using the glide lock. And as you'll know from my previous reviews, I like to size my watches loose so I can fit an index finger underneath the bracelet and clasp. This is an incredibly comfortable piece to wear, and I want to give due credit to Bliger because they have got the proportions of this piece done to perfection. This is perfection personified. 48mm precisely, and as you'll know from my previous reviews, I consider 48mm to be the sweet spot. It is the perfect lug-to-lug measurement for all wrist sizes, regardless of whether you're a collector with a 6 to 7-inch wrist or a 7 to 8-inch wrist respectively. 48mm will give you a sublime fit. The comfort level is outstanding. 20mm lug width is the correct choice for a 40mm head of the piece. It really is the perfect proportions. 40mm head of the piece, 20mm bracelet, and the oyster style bracelet tapers from 20mm down to the glide lock style clasp. Absolutely gorgeous luster to the glide lock style clasp, and beautiful luster to the 316L grade stainless steel links in the oyster style bracelet. So the finishing is very good. I like the mirror polishing to the bezel, and I also like the slight lip of the flat sapphire crystal, which catches the light. As you can see, it just projects above the top edge of the mirror polished bezel. The only thing I would change is I would prefer if it had brushed satin finish on the tops of the lugs, which I think would look better, but this is a minor criticism, it's subjective. Some collectors will like it, as I've discussed. And as you can see, the other main negative is the lack of the AR coating on the underside of the sapphire crystal. So it is a very shiny, very reflective glare piece, but really it does need AR coating. But it's absolutely beautiful. The Tiffany dial works very well with the classic Explorer dial layout. I love the symmetry of the dial. Very comfortable piece to wear for long periods of time because it is 151 grams with all the links in the oyster style bracelet. And as I've discussed in previous reviews, I regard circa 150 grams to be the sweet spot for 40mm pieces. At 151 grams, it really is close to the perfect weight, 150 grams, so it's excellent. And I really like the fact it's only 12mm. Now, normally with automatic pieces, for example, if this were NH35A powered, one would expect it to be 13mm. One benefit of using the PT5000 is it's a slimmer movement, it's lower profile than the NH35A. So that has meant Bliger have been able to reduce the thickness of the case back and therefore reduce the overall thickness of the piece. It's only 12mm, and I've measured it, it is exactly 12mm. So this is easily going to slip underneath the shirt cuff if you wear business shirts. So it's a low profile piece at only 12mm, and I really like the proportions. 40mm head of the piece, beautiful tape on the lugs down to the 20mm lug width. It is the perfect dimensions for a daily wear piece. 40mm case, 48mm lug to lug measurement, only 12mm thick with a 20mm lug width. As I've discussed, perfection personified. Right, so let's do a loom test and we'll see how the loom performs when it's charged up to its absolute maximum. So as always, I'm going to use my 100 UV LED torch to charge it up to its absolute peak. Right, so that's now fully charged, and as you can see, it has not disappointed. Bliger have used C3 Superluminova, and they deserve full credit for this because they could have used the cost-cutting measure of using C3 Luminova rather than C3 Superluminova. Now, of course, one isn't going to get BGW9 Superluminova at this price point. There has to be some cost-cutting measures. But C3 Superluminova at this price point, €130, is perfectly acceptable. The loom on the applied indices, including the fully loomed Arabic numerals, is glowing to a reasonable standard, and also on the Mercedes hands. And I think it's good. I like the green tone of the C3. As you'll know from my previous reviews, C3 Superluminova is a personal favourite of mine, and it is good. This is definitely better quality loom than one would get on a Pagani design, for example, at a similar price point, €130. So I think it's impressive because they could have used the cost-cutting measure of Luminova, but they haven't. It is C3 Superluminova, and it is continuing to glow for a good length of time. So the loom performance is acceptable. Right, so let's discuss the movement used because it's one of my favourite aspects of the piece. So as I've detailed, this watch is available in two case sizes, 36mm and also 40mm, although it's listed as 39mm on AliExpress. It's also available in 4 movement versions: the Mingzhu 2813, Seiko NH35A, Miyota 8215 and the PT5000. Now, of those 4 versions, I highly recommend the NH35A version, or alternatively this version, which is the PT5000. For reference, I have previously reviewed the black dial version of this watch, and that was powered by the NH35A, and I was very impressed with it. This PT5000 is a higher grade of movement than the NH35A, and I think it is worth paying the extra for because it is a better quality movement with better accuracy, better build quality, better quality control. So, with regards to the PT5000, it's a clone of the ETA 2824-2. It has 25 joules, it runs at 28,800 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 4 Hz, and it has a 40-hour power reserve, which is perfectly acceptable. It has hand binding and hacking, which use for complications, and the stated accuracy of the PT5000 is plus or minus 12 seconds per day. However, I'm pleased to report that often the PT5000 is regulated to better accuracy than plus or minus 12 seconds per day. This one is running consistently at plus 5 seconds per day when it's fully wound to its maximum 40 hours, which is very impressive for a low tier piece costing only €130. And I think plus 5 seconds per day really is a credit to Bliger because they are well regulating the PT5000 movements they're using. That is actually within COSC chronometer limits of -4 to plus 6 seconds per day. It's very unusual to get a plus 5 second per day watch at only €130, and I really like the PT5000. It's a reliable, well-proven workhorse movement which has been in use since 2018, and it's produced by HK Precision Technology in China. And really, there's no difference in quality between the PT5000, the SW200-1, which is made by Solita, and the ETA 2824-2. I regard them as equal quality control, equal build quality. The only real difference is the PT5000 is made in China, the SW200-1 and the ETA 2824-2 respectively are made in Switzerland. So it's an outstanding movement, accurate, reliable, and it's also got very good quality control. So plus 5 seconds per day, 40-hour power reserve, perfectly acceptable, and it has hand binding and hacking. And really, I think the NH35A is a good choice, or alternatively the PT5000 version. They are better than the other options, which are the Mingzhu 2813 or the Miyota 8215. The disadvantage of the Mingzhu 2813 and also the Miyota 8215 respectively is they do not have hacking. They have hand winding, but they do not have hacking, and of course they have lower build quality, lower quality control, and the accuracy isn't as good. So the NH35A is a better choice, and the PT5000 is the best choice of all the 4 options. I think it's worth paying the extra to get the PT5000 because this is still only €130. So lastly, I'll summarise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, the watch should meet 2 criteria. It should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price point. So the price point is €130. Yes, this is unquestionably excellent quality, and yes, it is unquestionably excellent value. I want you to consider the PT5000 at €130. That is reason alone to purchase this watch. You know the price points of San Martin watches such as the SN019G using the PT5000. This is significantly less expensive. I think it's incredible to get a PT5000 at only €130. The other thing to note, as I've detailed, is the glide lock clasp, which is actually very well executed. The finishing of it is good, the performance of it is good, the execution is good. To get a glide lock style clasp at this price point is very strong specification. This is something one rarely sees. Yes, one would expect to see it on a San Martin SN019G, but that's a €300 piece. It's not €130. So to get a glide lock style clasp, and it does work very well, it's very smooth and it's got a nice positive click. I really like it. So PT5000 glide lock style clasp. Now, of course, there are some cost cutting measures as I've detailed. The lack of the AR coating is a negative, and also we have some play in the bracelet. However, this can be forgiven. I think they've made the correct choice. It's difficult for a brand in the low tier to get the balance right. They've used a high quality movement, the PT5000. They've used C3 Superluminova, which is good quality loom. And of course it has Sapphire crystal, which is fair enough. And the glide lock style clasp is a real strong point. So of course they've made some cost cutting measures in other areas. And yes, there is some play in the bracelet. And of course there is no AR coating. So one has to weigh these things up. One has to be realistic about the cost cutting measures, the specification. Overall, I still think it's excellent quality and excellent value, and I'm very impressed with the finishing, the quality control, the build quality, the materials and the specification throughout. So I'm going to declare it a champagne watch for lemonade money, and I'm going to highly recommend it to you for your consideration. I hope you've enjoyed my review of the Bliger PA21 Explorer. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you very much.